Hello again, and welcome to the Corner Studio here in my garage. And I see from my high-tech teleprompter here, it is indeed time for another episode of Friday Evening Camera Talk. This one is number 107. Tonight's program is almost exclusively about this camera right here. This is the Nikon ZR. And you can see on the ZR, the 28-400 lens has been positioned on it. That's the f4 to f8, 28-400, which I've talked about on the channel here. We have matched this lens up with this camera, and pretty much since we bought it, just about left this lens on here exclusively, trying to vet the two together because I think we may be onto something here. The question I'm posing tonight is this a wildlife rig? And I intend to answer it with proof rather than just talking head kind of rhetoric. Now the lens itself, I had in my notes that we were due for the 1-year review on this lens, and I've talked about it so much on the channel. The first one we bought about a year ago, December 2nd it said in my notes, and the second one we bought a few months after that. So this is one of those lenses that we've got 2 copies of, one for me, one for the wife to use. And this is the kit that the wife has put together in this yellow wandered bag, and this is turning into her grab and go kit. In fact, I was going to shoot this program yesterday. I'm shooting it on a Wednesday, and I was going to shoot this program yesterday, but she took the bag and the camera with her out when she was doing some stuff, and I didn't have access to the camera. So we're delayed one day, but we should still get the program up prior to Friday evening, so no problem there. But anyway, I've got a couple of short clips that I want us to see. One is going to explain these wind muffs up here, and the other one, the much vaunted screen that everybody talks about with this camera, which I happen to like. We're going to do a quick comparison on a tripod side by side between this and the Z8. So first, we're going to talk about the wind muffs, then the screen size. So we'll drop those clips in. We'll be right back. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the onboard microphones for the ZR, these 2 slots here next to the hot shoe. I'd been seeing in videos people with windscreens on these, and I wondered where they came from, because at the time I saw this camera roll out, they didn't have this listed as an accessory. They may have changed that on some of the listings at different places, but this is actually a small rig product, and it was marketed for the Z30. And if you just slide it right in there, it goes in the hot shoe, and it just covers the onboard mics. It's about a $10 item, or a little less, at least it was for me, delivered right to the front door. So I just thought to put these alongside each other on a tripod so you could see what the difference is. It's a 4-inch screen with the ZR on the right side, 3.2-inch with the Z8, and we're talking about roughly on the Z8 2 million dots there on the left versus 3 million dots for the ZR on the right. So those 2 clips just were for information. I was out here in the studio plinking around with some things a few days ago, and I decided to shoot those in advance of the program. It's kind of out here playing around with mics and testing them, and I don't want to detract from the subject, but I'm probably not long having to look for a new set of wireless mics, because this is one of my older pairs of Ceramonics, which you've seen on the program so often, and this is one of the newer ones. And you could see it was back there charging, and when I went to pull, you know, the component that plugs into the camera, the receiver, it was showing empty battery, even though this thing's been in its box and plugged in. I get good service out of this, but I think that the box is malfunctioning, and I may just have to start plugging these in individually. It's got a USB there on the bottom, so it shouldn't be a problem, but anyhow, it just adds a complication where you don't need one in your life because you go to reach for something and you think I'm ready to go and you're not ready to go. But I think these will get us through tonight's program. Before we move on with the ZR clips, I want to talk about wildlife capability. I'll show you something in the base of the camera here, and this is no surprise to anybody. Everybody that's talked about this camera has talked about the CF Express B card, but I'm going to hold one up here and try to get the camera to focus on it. You see that is it's a pro grade 512 gigabyte card, and I meant to see before I kind of half shoved it back in there. That's the 3400 megabytes a second card. So I figured that was one of the first accessories that we needed to buy for this camera, was a higher tier card. So the speed is faster and the storage itself is faster. And if you've been watching the channel for some time, you know in the past I've kind of been one of those don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like I've never bought these terabyte cards or the high gigabyte storage because they cost so much. And when I started buying cards for the Z9 and the Z6 II way back when, over 3 years ago I guess it is now, I was always buying the 128s, and they felt pricey at the time. I think when I first started buying them, I must have been paying about $150 a card or somewhere in that neighborhood. But the purpose of talking about this one is I have finally, by waiting long enough, I finally have reached the point where like the 512s are down in the tolerance zone for what I'm willing to pay for a CF Express B card. I haven't ever had one fail, and I haven't accidentally taken one out and dropped it into a swimming pool or stepped on it or whatever. But stuff can happen to camera cards, and I've always been reluctant to drop a lot of cash on a single card, which is why I always felt like buying multiple cards and kind of having your investment a little bit split up. But I'm telling you here, I'm taking the plunge. I'm now buying the 512 gig cards, and I think this one was delivered right to the doorstep for slightly under $200 with tax included. But here's what I want to do at this point. We'll move things along. I want to drop some wildlife clips in, shot with this camera and this lens combo, and it's all handheld work. Some of it I did, most of it the wife did, since she's had more access to the camera than I have. But let's drop the wildlife clips in, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we just saw those clips, and I'll say again, they were all shot handheld using this lens, 28-400 and the ZR. Most of them were shot by the wife because she has been taking this camera out. It truly has turned into her grab-and-go camera. In fact, I almost called it, at the start of the program, a front seat camera, because if you're just out on a photography trip and you're driving the car and you've got space on the passenger seat where nobody's come along with you. We have both done the thing of looping this over the headrest on the passenger seat, and just having the camera sit in here with the lid unzipped so you can just get to it. And that's been working out really well. This camera has kind of fallen into a groove that I wasn't sure it was possible for a camera to fall into, because I'll repeat kind of my shady history here, misspent youth, whatever. I've had the Z30, the Z52, the Z6 II, the ZF, the Z6 III, and of course the Z8 and Z9. The Z8 and Z9, they're impeccable, they're made guys. Both of the Z8s, the wife and I now use the Z8 out in the field as our primary kit camera. The Z9, of course, that's what I'm filming with tonight. 24-70 f2.8 second version lens. And the other cameras, I'll just roll through them. The Z30, at the time I bought it, that camera's got no in-body stabilization, and I found testing it, it's hard to use as a wildlife rig, so it didn't meet the cut as a wildlife camera. The Z52, I like the output a lot on that camera, but I rely on shooting it handheld and kind of on the go so much. The Z52 didn't really work out for us. It's a great camera if you're using it for other things. If you're using it for wildlife, you got to put it on a tripod, and I saw that as the Achilles heel to that camera, but otherwise a great camera. Now let me back up a second. The Z30, why the heck would I have even bought that camera? Well, at the time that I bought that camera, I was shooting a Z6 II as my primary, and the wife had a Z9, and we had a second Z6 II that floated back and forth between us. The Z30, in spite of it being diminutive in price, it offered the 2-hour and 5-minute video time. So that's why I bought that camera, and I used it for quite a while before trading it off. It was just time for it to go at that point. The Z52, that was a more recent acquisition. It happened about the start of this year, and I really had high hopes that that camera was going to work out kind of as a grab and go camera. The IBIS in it, it just, you know, you rely so heavily on one feature in a camera, and if it lacks that feature, then you're simply not compatible with it. Now, I'm rolling through this list here, and I'm working up to something. I'm working up to how the ZR is going to be different, how those other cameras kind of failed and the ZR is going to succeed. The Z6 II, I got nothing bad at all to say about that camera. It kind of had a limited shoot time of 29 minutes. The autofocus isn't quite up to the tier that the more modern cameras, for instance, for a lot less money, the Z52 has a way better autofocus than the Z6 II. But we used the Z6 IIs and tromped around with them for, I don't know, a year and a half or so as our main field cameras. Well, the wife was using the Z9, but I was using the Z6 II almost exclusively during that period, and making do quite nicely with it. I still recommend that camera to people, the Z6 II. I think it's got a solid construction, it's easy to use, and I got no problems with it other than the fact that we traded ours off to move into, you know, better things. Now the ZF, that was a camera, also good output. The ergonomics eventually wore me down on that camera, because you could grab that camera, and I showed many times when I had the ZF in front of me, if you came up in the 70s and you're used to cameras that weren't ergonomic and how to use them, how to hold on to them, sure thing, no problem. But the ergonomics eventually just drove me to get rid of that camera, and I'll say that the output was quite nice in it though, the ZF. Now the Z6 III, that's the camera that we thought was going to be this, our grab and go camera, and it never quite worked out. I never quite meshed with the Z6 III, and it's a lot of little things. And I don't really feel like doing a deep dive into the Z6 III, because I still think that's a very good and relevant camera. It just wasn't for me. Now, does this camera replace anything? Does it replace a Z8 or a Z9? Absolutely not. I still reach for the Z8. that seems to be the camera that I'm most synchronized with. I've been using the Z9 a lot more lately and really liking that camera. It's a studio camera. I am taking it places now. The wife hasn't really disowned the Z9 just due to the, I think it was the software updates kind of put her over the edge to claim one of the Z8s that we have, and that's the reason she started using it. Particularly, I'll name focus limiting as one of the biggies. And so we had the Z8s and the Z9, and why did we need this camera? Well, we wanted, first off, something that could truly be a grab-and-go camera, and this camera is so lightweight. You see me holding it here, and I find this camera quite easy just to hold up with one hand and shoot it if I need to. Now, my typical method for holding this camera is to kind of cradle the lens and to stabilize it right here just with my thumb. And I'm able typically to get some pretty stable results out of doing that. The big screen, I mean, that's the one everybody talks about. We both are enjoying this big screen. The camera's got a lot of capability to it. Now, people, you know, it's got red infused here on the back right next to Nikon. I haven't even, I think the wife's tinkered with it, but I haven't even really been playing with or experimenting with the red profile that's in this camera. May or may not even be something that we ultimately use that much. It creates awfully large files, and due to the amount of stuff that we go out and shoot and then having to work with it on the computer, I'm reluctant to tangle with giant files. But overall, I tell you, I don't often just put myself out on the line on the channel. I'm cautious. I don't advise people to do things. I don't cheerlead for products or whatever. You guys know I'm up to my neck in the Nikon system, but I wholeheartedly and unreservedly recommend this lens, the 28-400. This lens is a workhorse. It replaced the 100-400 in our kit. That was a heavy lens, and the output on the 100-400 was never what the 400 4.5 output was. So it was kind of like the stepchild. You wanted to like it, but deep down you just sort of knew that it wasn't really the part of, it was a weak part of the kit. When this lens came along, I assumed that it was going to be kind of one of those cheap lenses that they sell to people as part of a kit or whatever. Was wrong, absolutely wrong. Great output for what you spend. So I wholeheartedly recommend this this lens, but as a pair, as a combo, I'm too new in this camera to tell people to go out and do it, but I really like this camera. The wife has just been picking this thing up and using it all the time. So I recommend it, but I don't unequivocally say put your money here in this camera body. But the lens, no question whatsoever. The ZR, at some point I'll cross that bridge and probably say, you know, it's wonderful. Don't hesitate to dive in and get yourself one, but if you haven't already. But I know from the comments that I've gotten along since starting this channel, you know, over 3 years now, I guess it is, people appreciate someone on YouTube who shows a little bit of reserve in just talking about stuff so that you don't get, you know, led into being hosed down by something. But I think this is, you know, the clip's proved it's a wildlife camera, and we take it out, use it, enjoy it. I got no reason to think that this body is not going to keep performing well and that it's not going to keep pleasing us. So there you have it. I guess what we'll do at this point is I'm going to take a quick break here, and then we'll come back. We got a little bit of housekeeping to do. I feel like I've already rattled on a bit much tonight, but I got a couple of things I want to close out, and we'll be right back. So we're going to do one more thing with the ZR tonight. I've got some sample photos that the wife took with the ZR, because people have questioned whether it's really a photography camera or just a video camera. So you guys can see those photos. I'm going to park them at the very end of the show tonight, and you can let me know what you think. Let me know what you thought of the wildlife clips as well. I was going to talk about the art output on the channel. You know, folk art and camera, from the get-go, it was always about talking about camera stuff, wildlife, and art. I've been meaning to produce more art content lately, but I'm trying to get over it's kind of a psychology that you fall into. It's sort of like you hear where zoo animals won't reproduce because they're in captivity. Sometimes I turn the camera on and I just can't put a pair together as far as doing an art video. But you can see I've been out here, like I just finished this painting this week. It's kind of a Christmas decoration for us we're going to use in the house, but I may bring it back out here after the holidays, park it somewhere in the studio. I don't know yet where it'll end up, but I just painted this past week, and I had the cameras running, and the audio on it just didn't work out. I thought about doing a voiceover where, you know, you just go back and do a play-by-play to say what you were doing, but I spent a couple of hours editing that thing and then chucked it in the trash. The other thing that I did recently was I started a multi-week project talking about face jugs, how I make these on the wheel and then do the sculpture for them. And I thought that it would make an interesting, a couple of interesting art episodes. And then I had one of the segments that I shot, it failed basically. So if you have a sequence of things that have to happen and one of them fails, I wasn't sure. I don't want to post stuff on the channel that seems haphazard or half-hearted. So I guess the purpose of this segment is to tell the people who subscribe to this channel, if any of them are watching from the art side who are interested in art, and I know some of the camera subscribers are interested in art as well, but I'm going to be working on more art videos, and I just have to figure a few more things out about the approach to get the art video shot successfully. It seems easy for me to come out here in the studio, set up, start talking about camera stuff. That's just second nature, but trying to produce a well-done art video that actually shows the techniques that I do and has good production value, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm finding that to be kind of a hurdle, and I've been working through it, but you're going to see more art content on the channel soon, I promise. Now, last but not least here, I'm going to take next week off for the Thanksgiving holiday, so I may post something that I have already on the computer, but I won't be making any new content, so we'll have a gap there. But anyway, I sure do want to thank everybody for attending tonight, and we hope to see you again soon in the next video. So take care till then, and have a happy holiday.